Today we're continuing with our series on second job, side hustles, being an independent contractor, those kind of little uh, topics of being self-employed and the like, and basically job stuff. And today I'm going to talk about something that's very important. It's that being an independent contractor is not the same as having a job. I encountered this when I was working on a side business that I do. Um, and I won't go into it, but I was hiring some independent contractors to do some work for me a few hours a week. And some of them were basically, I saw a huge difference between people who realized that they were independent contractors exchanging their knowledge and expertise for money by bringing value to my company, and people who had always been employed and thought that when they punched the time clock or logged in on their phone or whatever, that they got paid for their time, not for their results. So I know I might get some people getting kind of mad about it. That's fine. Debate in the comments. But you have to understand, when you are running a business, which an independent contractor is self-employed, that means you are your own business, that it is very different than when you are, let's say, a receptionist whose job it is to come and for 8 hours sit and wait in case the phone rings. If that is your job, even as an independent contractor, being always available to answer that phone whenever it rings is your job. However, if you're being hired to do something else, let's say you're being hired to call out, or you're being hired to complete tasks. I gave the example in another video of how I was a content editor for books, and I was being paid to evaluate and point out issues and help develop books. And that is what I needed to do, not just be paid for the amount of time I sat in front of my computer, sometimes jumping onto social media, sometimes checking my email, and sometimes editing. That's also why I charge by the task and not by the hour, because if I do have to look into something for the family, pausing the clock and going back just became tedium. So, when you're an independent contractor, you are not a W-2 employee. You are not trading your time for money. You are trading your value to another person's business for money. So it's important to act like it. An important consideration is professionalism, and what is professionalism in your industry, and making sure that your results bring more value than what your fees are. Michael Gerber talks about this in his book, The E-Myth, where he talks about the entrepreneurial seizure, which I always love that terminology. I read this, probably 12, 13 years ago. But in that, he says it's when a employee suddenly realizes, see my little air quotes, suddenly realizes that you are smarter than your boss. And so you jump out and decide, my boss is only paying me $20 an hour to do this. I could charge, but they're charging $70 an hour to do it. I could do it for $50 and do it better. That's the entrepreneurial seizure. What happens, though, is most people don't realize that when you become self-employed, you are supposed to be working on your business, not in your business. You are developing a business, not doing the work of the business necessarily. This can be really hard when you're in a creative endeavor, like I said, writing or painting, graphic design, because you are essentially your business, unless there's certain things that can be subcontracted down to someone who then is your employee or whatever else, and that becomes an expense in your business and to your fees. But remember, as a professional, you are trading results for cash. Even if it's an hourly thing, if you are being paid to answer incoming calls and you're not available, you're not giving the results. If you're being paid to call out and you're not calling, or your phone calls are not getting the goals of the person hiring you, you are not bringing value to the business, and you won't continue to do it for very long. So the next thing to consider is being a professional. That doesn't mean being aloof or being snooty or being entitled. It means adding value. Turn things on time in on time or early, be there when you say you're going to be there, communicate well. And that also goes to, in being a professional, articulating well what your fees are, how you came to that amount, what value you're going to bring, and then deliver that value. You would not like it if you went to, say, I don't know, a dentist. And the dentist tells you, hey, yeah, I can fix your tooth. And then you go in and they don't fix it well. Or if you hire someone to paint your house and they only paint two sides of it, you would not be okay with that. But yet we seem to often be okay with not following through on our full results. And our excuse is, well, I'm an independent contractor. I'm doing this all on my own. Well, that doesn't matter. When we go into a job, if we are not capable of doing that job well to the extent that we have promised, then we need to not bid on that job. Or charge less and be clear about what you can and cannot provide. For example, I'm not a proofreader. And for years, I would send them to other proofreaders and say, I can do this piece, but I can't do that part. And then I had a proofreader work with me for a few years, and I was able to roll their fees into mine and say, I am offering this job. I can do these things together. Or go find a proofreader if that's who you need. Also, as an independent contractor, you need to be ready for growth. This was a gigantic mistake that I made in 2007. When I began my writing career coach business, I grew so quickly and I was overwhelmed. And so I was on track to go from making zero to within 3 months earning about $1,800 a month. And that, I mean, it was awesome because that was back in 2007. The recession was happening. I couldn't find a job anywhere. And suddenly I'm making $1,800 a month out of nowhere. It was awesome. But I was overwhelmed. So I moved from my house, got an office in town, actually 2 offices, because my secretary was across the hall. I was in here. I hired my staff a little bit at a time, and I was growing. I thought everything was great. Unfortunately, the cost of 2 computers, rent on 2 offices, all the other little bells and whistles, the accounting, the taxes, the unemployment insurance that I didn't know I'd have to pay, all the little things added up. And within 6 months, I was working 60 hours a week, sometimes as little as 40, paying a babysitter now to stay with my kids instead of being home with my kids, paying my staff, paying my rent. Bottom line is, I went 2 years without actually putting a penny in my pocket. And then I worked myself up to earning $200 a month net. And it wasn't until I shut down all that office, moved back home, and started only taking a couple projects a month that I brought myself back to making $1,000 a month. I grew too quickly. I was not ready for growth, and I did not have a plan for growth. So have a plan in place for growth if that's your plan. If not, then only take as many projects as you can handle. Don't get greedy like I did, and don't think, oh, this is it, and just run crazy, because it resulted in a 5-year Okay, now the really good part. Are you ready to dream? Explore a little. I really love somebody, his name is The Economic Ninja. He's a fellow YouTuber. I strongly recommend go over and watch his stuff. I have learned so much from him, and he's about my age. I've actually met him. He's really cool. He's the real deal. The guy that you see on the video is the guy in real life, and he genuinely cares about people. Go over there and watch it, but he's also got a channel that has way fewer subscribers. He's got like 200 something thousand now. But he's got a much smaller channel called Ninja Motivation. And on one of his videos, he talks about when he was selling plants because he wanted to live in a jungle, he said. I totally love this because that's the way I am. I want something, and so I turn it into a business so that I can do that. I wanted to have a little hobby farm, so I bought chickens and sold eggs to people and got the eggs for myself, and then a weasel killed my chickens. You know that story. If you don't know it, I have a video about how my kids turned a few dollars into a chicken enterprise and what we learned about business from there. It's a great video. But anyway, he made $50,000 a year selling these palm trees because he wanted to have a jungle. So I wanted to read books and develop things and become a better writer myself. And so to develop those skills, I developed skills in ghosting and developmental editing, and then marketed them out to people at a reasonable price. And I got to have the benefit of reading these books, improving my editing skills, learning how to edit better and better by working on other people's books. So then when I got to my own books, I was even better. I also learned so many things in editing other people's books that I wrote books and taught at conferences on how to do this and what I had learned. I even put together a book. It was called Wisdom from Writing Career Coach, because I found I was editing like 2, 3, 4 books every month for like 15 years. So in reading literally hundreds of books and then also listening to books as I would drive, hundreds of books, I started seeing the same issues over and over. And so I started jotting those things down, and I created a book called Wisdom from Writing Career Coach. And it was like 70 pages of the most common issues writers made of all levels. So, start dreaming big. What can you do with what you're trying to do as your independent contractor job? If you're going to be a daycare person, what could you do or learn that you could share with others? How could you take skills that you have in one thing and bring it to another? I don't even know. I mean, you guys are way more creative than me, but my Wisdom from Writing Career Coach is a prime example. By doing my editing, I was learning different things and I was seeing consistent problems, and I turned it into a book and I used it to teach people. And that book sold really well when I was at writers conferences. It cost me about $2 to print. I think I sold it for like $8 or $10. I made it part of a package deal if people were coming and meeting with me at conferences, and I forget what they paid an hour to talk to me, because the conference would pay me a different amount because they would collect it as a fundraiser for the conference to help them offset their costs. And so it was a win for everybody. But that was one example. But plan for success. Be ready to pay your dues. Look realistically at what it's going to cost you to do these things. And then see how you can take the things you're learning on the job to earn you more money somewhere else. Economic Ninja is another great example. He's taking the things he's learned and the articles he's reading and sharing them with people, and YouTube, or however that works when they monetize, is paying him because now he's added value to people, and so they follow. You add value to people, they will come and follow. Hopefully these videos add value to you and you're sharing them and telling other people about them, and they're coming and seeing them and they're making their life better with them. Over time, I believe that will happen. It's just slow going at the beginning because word of mouth takes a while to spread. But think about your own things, share it in the comments below, and let me know what you would like to see in the next video. I will be beginning my Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs series. It will be on Wednesdays, and there'll be a new video each Wednesday. It's going to go well into the fall because I'm using a really detailed, not just the broader like 4 or 5. And I'm going to go at each step, practical things that you can use at that level. It's going to be really cool. I'm very excited. So make sure that you have also subscribed and hit the bell so you get notified when my videos come out. They'll be coming with greater frequency, and I will see you in a future video. Thanks so much. Bye.